Welcome to a video that's a little bit different. This is going to be a recap of the year 2023. I didn't start making videos until November in 2023 though, so a lot of this is just going to be random photos with a lot of voiceover until we get to November, and then it'll just be a recap of the videos I've done since November. Let's get right into it. In 2023, we rung in the year at Lake Chelan with Leah's parents. It was a very beautiful snowy time up there. Then looking at my photos, I sold my beloved Futon that went with me through college. It has not been missed. Actually, I didn't sell it, I gave it away. And then what you're looking at here is a picture of my Crown Vic. I bent the steering shaft. Apparently the bearings in there get messed up, and so that was a pretty easy job to do, very, very rewarding. And then still in January, I got my Prusa Mark III S Plus. I'd had a 3D printer before this, but it was kind of a budget one, and just, to see if I was into it. And this was my first, nice 3D printer, and it's been great. Here's one of the first prints I ever did with it, a little coaster. Believe it or not, this photo is after I cable managed my desk. It might not look like it, but man, there's a lot of cables, and I crammed them in as best I could. In early 2023, I only really had the Crown Vic, and while it's reliable enough to get across the state, it's, cost prohibitive. And so a lot of times I took the train, and this is one of my favorite things about the train. I could sit there, play some Need for Speed, enjoy an energy drink, just relax as the train cruises along at 70 miles an hour until I get stuck behind a freight train because America doesn't have rail-centric infrastructure. Anyways, moving on. I was riding that train, of course, out to the cabin property, and they won't let me pet them, but they're chasing me. This is me trying to walk on some ice. It was very chilly January, of course. We also, of course, did some trail clearing in January. While there's still snow on the ground, we went down to Bowl and Pitcher as well, which was, of course, beautiful. These photos aren't really related, but my mom took some photos and videos of some incredible sunsets. Getting her a Pixel has been the best decision for my eyes that I've ever made. She is notorious for taking bad pictures, and having that phone, having a nice phone, just kind of takes care of it for her. And these are the first of the cat images. This is my childhood cat. His name is Peach, and he is the most adorable and friendly thing. He'll come up to you and beg for pets, and will of course get them. There will be more photos of him later, I promise. In January, I was also lucky enough to be in town while we were planting trees out of the cabin property, so there's only a few photos of that, but that was not very fun, but productive. Moving right along to February, I bought my beloved Subaru Loyale. I did not know from the previous owners that it had a massive oil leak at this point yet, but it is incredibly clean inside out, and I'm still very proud to have that car. I bought it for $1,800, which, even considering the oil leak, I think is quite reasonable considering the condition of the interior and exterior. Got quite a lot of footage here from the Oldsmobile because I was making a little presentation thing about it for a friend's birthday party. At this point, it was still my grandpa's. I didn't inherit this thing until November, I think. We got a little snow, so of course I had to try out the Loyale's 4x4 system, which does still work, and it works well. I'd recorded this video to share with my family this cool 3D print that I modeled, and it's just to hold my coffee stuff off the counter because we were kind of short on counter space due to the coffee setup. This thing works great, I still use it to this day. And then I also modeled and printed this little filter holder that holds the filters up off the counter as well. This thing is also sweet. This is another 3D printing project I took on. I wanted a spice rack, or well, Leah did, and this space was underutilized, so here it is right here. And here we see the Crown Vic pre-light bar. Ah yes, this is the saga of the drive shaft. One of the drive shafts in the Loyale completely failed, and so I just bought some new ones from a parts store, because that's what you do. However, I installed those. They didn't work. They made some crunching noises, so I returned them, which oddly enough, they said the return policy was not to accept returns, but they made an exception for me, which, if the part quite literally doesn't fit when they said it would, seems like they should take it back, but they did. Anyways, so at this point, I'd installed, I believe, 3 different half shafts, and I was getting pretty good at it. So I went to the junkyard, pulled one out, took me about 20 minutes, and brought it home and put it into the Subaru, and that's what's in there to this day. I did take the boot off and re-grease it and re-clamp it, and it seems to be working well. Also in February, we got quite a nice snow, and if you don't know, I am a huge fan of snow. This is another 3D print that I'm really proud of. This is one of my favorite kinds, something that I whipped up in like 2 hours or something and then printed it in another 2 hours, and we're still using it to this day. This was a mistake. I was just messing around in the Crown Vic off-road in an area nearby to my house, and, well, I found a rock, and it demolished the wheel. I actually didn't have my tools to change my spare, so I had to call Leah to come and rescue me, and we actually had to take the Loyale with the Halfshaft that was currently broken. It was the new one that didn't work, and so it was making a lot of crunching noises, so we took the Loyale to rescue the Crown Vic. Neither of the vehicles were really functioning all that well. Fortunately, the tire was fine, so I didn't have to buy a new tire, but I did have to buy a new wheel for this. This thing was gone. In March, I visited the cabin property again, and while doing some work on a fruit ladder that did not have rubber on it, it did the splits, and, well, I ate it. And this is my wrist after that, and it was obviously not in too good a shape. It was a little broken, and so I had to wear a cast for about a month and then do some rehab, and it's all good now, but that wasn't all that fun. I just like this picture because this is a couple of my friends, and, well, one of these cars is not like the others. This is one of the geocaches I made. It just makes it a little more low profile and uses magnets to clip onto something metal. And in this video, you can also see the cast that I was wearing at the time. And around this time, I also got into RC crawlers, and so this is, I believe, mostly a stock RC crawler that I was just playing with on the shoe pile. I almost forgot about this. We went up to Canada in March and glamped in a little tent Airbnb thing. You can see we have a fire going here, and it was very cozy. We also did a lot of walking on this trip and got to see some very nice views. Anyways, after we got my cast off, we decided to take out the Loyale for a little bit of camping, and, well, it wasn't quite season yet. There was still just a smidgen of snow on the ground, and we got very stuck. Fortunately, some local people, some friendly, some not so much, they got us out, and we went back home. And then just a little bit later in May, we did get out in the Loyale to do a bit of camping. What you're looking at here is one of my favorite roads. It's pavers, so they don't wash away because this creek gets, larger. And we did actually make it up to this lookout tower, which is really cool. But there was a little bit of snow left on top of the mountain. On the Sunday we got back from camping with the Loyale, I hopped on the Shadow after packing it and left around 3 for the west side. The Shadow wasn't really designed to drive at 80 miles an hour for extended periods of time, but we did make it. Took a toll on my body, but the bike did just fine, and it also made it back home. In 2023, the Goldrush rally was in Coeur d'Alene, so a couple friends and I went to check it out and look at all the cool cars. And of course, some people had to be show-offs leaving. It was very exciting. And now we get to what is probably the highlight of this video. In 2023, a friend, Leah, and I did the Gambler for the first time ever. We all 3 of us piled into the Crown Vic and hit every single checkpoint in one day, and it took a long time. I think our average speed was like 8 miles an hour, but it was such a blast, and I'm so excited to do that again this year. As a matter of fact, that video has already come out while you're watching this video. I didn't really document the whole thing, but we did take a photo at each of the 10 waypoints, and we did take a couple clips of the larger obstacles. I'll shut up and just let you enjoy this little montage.
How the fuck? Jeez.
Like I said at the beginning, I wasn't really making videos yet, so I didn't really get a lot of photos of it. Not to mention that we were just mobbing it. We were absolutely having to go as fast as we could. And well, like I said, we made it, but we didn't get into camp until after dark every single night. Actually, the first night we did make it to camp before dark, but then someone started a forest fire by tipping over their camp stove. So we had to evacuate and go find somewhere else to camp. I'd almost forgotten about this too. In August, Leah and I went to the Tetons National Park, because I've done a lot of the national parks, but that's one that sort of gets skipped over when you do like Yellowstone and then drive straight to Arches. You drive through it, but you don't really see it, so we went and saw it. And that was obviously quite nice. The campsite we got was absolutely incredible, right on the water. It doesn't get much better than that when you're camping in a campground. In early September, a friend of mine and I went up and camped in the Idaho National Forest, the Panhandle Forest, whatever it's called. Here's some photos I took of the waterfall, and if I can find them, here's some photos he took, because he is a photographer. We went to the same campsite that we'd done in the Loyale, but this time we had the Crown Vic. And of course it was, again, beautiful. And it would appear that this is where the Goldwing saga begins. I wanted something a little more fuel efficient, but still fun to get across the state, and well, I thought a Goldwing might fit the bill, and if you've been watching my videos, you know how well that went. In late September, a friend and I went to an off-road park, and I had some great fun in the Crown Vic, and he also has a rebuilt title Porsche Cayenne that he took out. These are from when a buddy and I went and grabbed the salvage title cars from Copart and dragged them home on his trailer using his Cayenne. We were so close to closing, actually, that we had to leave the Outback near the auction in an empty lot and tow home the Volvo and then come back for the Outback. I didn't take any videos of it, of course, but it was a pain in the butt to get that thing on the trailer. The same buddy that helped me go get them found a listing for an Outback in the same color that still had both of its fenders, and so Leah and I went up and took a bunch of tools and stripped off some fenders as well as some other parts, and I think we paid the guy $50 for the whole lot. It was a really great deal and helped me make money on that car. And I think I've gone through all my photo archives from 2023, so I guess now we'll move on to the actual videos and recapping those. And what you're about to see is some of the stuff about working on the Oldsmobile. This was taken at like midnight, 1 a.m. I was waiting for some glue on the valve cover gasket to dry, so I figured I'd record some stuff because I was kind of bored. This is where I've been working for the past over a week now. I think it was 7 days on Sunday, and now it's, what, Monday night? About midnight, 12:30 maybe? You're getting a lot of oil out of the valve cover, so I had to pull it off. You can see it pooled down in there if this would focus. Yeah, right there. So Had to pull the valve cover off and it'll be ready to drive 400 miles. The reason it took us so long to put this damn thing back together is because the guy who took it apart, he didn't label anything, so we were just solving one big puzzle, and when there's 500,000 vacuum hoses in here, it's a little tricky to figure out where each and every one goes. Let me tell you the story about my obnoxious uncle and his stupid mobile mechanics. So a long time ago, when I was like 19 or maybe 20, about 5 years ago, I was driving over to Spokane, and about halfway over there, my catalytic converter on the RSX, it clogged up. So I wasn't getting much power. So I was just, I limped it there, I made it there. And I was just gonna, hack it out of the bottom of the car and drive home with some earplugs in. But my uncle, in all of his genius, he said, oh, I'll hire a mobile mechanic. I told him, no, don't do that. No, I'll just drive it home. And he said, oh no, I'll just call him up. He's on his way. I was like, oh God, okay. So this guy pulls up and he gets out a welder and starts going under my car. And he says, man, it's been about 5 years since I welded, so see how this goes. So he goes under there and he booger welds the shit out of it, and it's not good enough. It isn't sealed because no shit, it hasn't sealed. So he gets some exhaust tape and fixes her up. So I drive home and take it to an actual exhaust shop, one that I know and like. Muffler Man in Centralia, Washington, shout out. That guy charges me like another 120 bucks, like as much as or more than it would have cost just to have him put it in the first place to fix that guy's mess. Quick addendum to that story. I forgot to mention that when I was driving my clogged catalytic converter, I had a short ram intake, which wouldn't recommend it on an RSX, but I had one on the RSX while I was driving across the state with the catalytic converter clogged, and it caught on fire at one point. So I got out, popped the hood, and I blew it out with my mouth, and I took it off. Obviously, it got pretty toasty in there. It was definitely not good for the car, but what, 20,000-30,000 miles later, it's still going strong, so it didn't hurt it too much. That's the first story. Second story is on my dad's tractor. Between his payment and everything else, my dad ends up spending $500 or $5,000, that is zero there, on the damn tractor. So the issue isn't fixed, and he has to go to John Deere themselves and get them to diagnose it, and they do, and it turns out to be about a $500 fix, so 10 times the cost. So that's the second mobile mechanic. The third one is the guy who took this apart. He comes in, rips it all apart, ghosts us. And so we're left putting it back together, which hopefully we got it pretty well done. We'll see. So after I finished getting the valve cover back on and ran the car for a bit, made sure it wasn't leaking, I took it down to get gas, and well, anyways, after that I drove it about a half hour to where I was staying for the week, and it went pretty well. It was struggling to idle and such a little bit, but it went pretty well. Well, it isn't running great, but we made it a half hour, so that means I can go the other 6 hours tomorrow, right? So that night, it was like already 2 in the morning, but I stayed up a little later and did a few searches on that little, there was one tube that we capped that wasn't on the diagram, so we just capped it because we didn't know where it was supposed to go. It turns out it was the vacuum release valve, and that's where it released vacuum. So the next morning before I left for Spokane, I uncapped it, and then the car ran a lot better. It actually would idle now. And then, yeah, I drove all the way over to Spokane. I left around 2. Can't remember quite when I got back, around 7 or something, but it went flawlessly. I stopped at McDonald's. I obviously had to stop for fuel. Yeah, I made it. And then I continued to drive the car without doing anything as kind of a daily driver for a couple weeks. And then just recently I retimed it and stuff. So today I'm working on the Goldwing. I got the RSX done and out of here. Got the Oldsmobile in here. My grandpa's had it garage parked for the last 20 years, so might as well keep it that way. But what I was waiting on this part before I left for the west side, it's a new throttle cable. Connects in right here and comes up and out and goes over to the handlebars here. And the one that came with the new buttons that I got is the wrong style. See, it's like that, and then it should be in this style. So I've got a time lapse set up. This is my first time doing this, so hopefully it works out all right. I've got a lot of crap laying around here. I'll have to see if I remember where it goes. One of the things I'm the most worried about is this part. That's the reverse lever. It goes on somewhere around there. and it kind of just came apart, and I'm not sure I remember how it goes back together. Anyways, I guess I'll get started on this and see where we get to. Alright, got it mounted in there. It's that cable you see moving right there. Had to get that mounted in the bottom there. Not sure if you can hear from my phone recording, but the sound of the rain makes for some cozy work. So here I was making sure it still started up and ran good after I had taken it all apart and putting it back together. Of which it of course did with the help of a jump pack. So after all the work I'd done to it, I did solve the issue with the starter button, which was a big issue. The previous owner had rewired the starter button to a different button, and that's kind of bad because it's also the reverse button, so you have to take your hands off the bars to back up the bike. So I had put a new starter button in, and that was working. Alright, so on that ride, I did get the cruise control working. The set worked, the resume worked. This button doesn't work great. It does work. But the issue is actually the switch in here. Hear that? That switch needs to be pressed for cruise control to engage. I thought of that while the bike was torn apart. So now what I gotta do, I think you'll see a time lapse of this too, is I gotta clean up my workspace here. I got a few things to clean up over there, and the Oldsmobile is gonna go over here. Alright, so I'm back out here. It's still Saturday. I'll try and figure out how I can get this switch to stay on when the clutch is out. So all I actually ended up doing, and this might not be the best solution, but I just stuck some tape on the little lever that presses that button and made it thick enough so that it actually presses the button when the clutch is out. I haven't ridden the bike a lot since then, but it still works as far as I know.
Over the past 2 weeks, I got the Subaru Outback ready for inspection. I fished a light bulb out of the RSX taillight. I spent way too long diagnosing an issue on the Goldwing when the only issue that's on the Goldwing is me. And I dragged this thing all the way across Washington State. And well, it's here, isn't it? Today the goal is to get the other fender on the Subaru. So in order to do that, I gotta move these couple of motorcycles and pull it in here. I might also grab a new battery for it because the battery is shot. So yeah, this thing runs pretty good. Right over here, you can see my fender replacement. Right here, there's still a big gap. I'm just hoping that it gets past inspection. It's not like dangerous or anything, and I've seen a lot of Outbacks with worse damage driving around, but I'll just have to see if he's in a good mood that day. And then what I'm gonna have to show you in a minute here is the other fender. That's what I'm trying to replace today. So it's Sunday now, back out here on the Subaru. I think I just have the door card to replace, and if I'm feeling ambitious, might take out the rear tail light. Actually, yeah, that's it, and then this thing will be ready for registrations. If I get done with this thing and still feel like working, I've got to figure out the tail light for the RSX. The light bulb fell off and into the housing, so I don't know how I'm going to get that out. I might need like a little bendy clamp or something. So that's the plan for today. Well, that wasn't too bad. Gotta pump up the tire, get this thing out of here. First start under its own power without a jump pack. Alright, heading over to see what I can do with the RSX taillight. You can see in there, that's the light itself.
in the housing is already in there, so I gotta like fish around in there with some wire, try to grab it or something. I don't know. I got it. It turns out these things, as I thought, were just slightly magnetic, and that was enough to get it up to the opening and then pull it out. Looks like it might still be good. Of course, I'm concerned about putting it in there, but let's see if it lights up. Well, put it in there for now. Maybe it'll stay. At least I know how to get it out now. All right, time to go move the Volvo into the on-deck position. Gotta go grab the keys. Alright, I think I figured out the alarm system on the thing. My neighbors love me. Got the taillight fixed, got the Outback ready for inspection. I might work on the Goldwing. Well, instead of working on the Goldwing today, I think I'm going to just clean up a little bit and then call it a day. Excuse the mess on my desk. But now I have 3 wings. So when I was trying to fix my original wing, I broke it. It doesn't quite work anymore. So I bought this one, which is fully functional except for the cracked front and cracked rear. And I'll be swapping over this front display and this rear glass to this one, and then I'll have a fully functional wing again. I'm not ready to let go. My Raspberry Pi has arrived. This is for Home Assistant. I think I've had the Home Assistant yellow kit for like a year and a half or something. Maybe 2 years. Here we go. In the Corona box, of course. I haven't actually really opened this. I just took it out of its box. Nothing much more exciting happened. I just got it put together and started up, and it pretty much set itself up. It was really easy. After that, I was getting ready to leave for the west side, so I didn't really have much other time to deal with it. Hopefully the audio on this is good enough with the Subaru running back there, but I'm about to drive it across the state, 4 or 5 hours today, and then another couple hours, and then 6 hours home. Packing tools, just because if I pack them, then I won't need them. I just topped off the oil, which is still a massive leak, so I've got extra oil. It was a little low on coolant, so I topped off the coolant. We should be good to go. You might be wondering why I'm taking the Subaru instead of the Volvo that's sitting right behind it in the frame here. The Volvo hadn't been inspected yet in this video, so that's why we're taking the Subaru. Before I went across the state, I had to stop and get my allergy shot. But before that, I had about an hour to kill, so I found a couple of geocaches. These were pretty easy ones, but they were fun to find. We're gonna take I-90 just about all the way, and I'm staying at my friend's house tonight, so enjoy the time lapse. I stopped in George to fuel up at Shree's. If you've ever driven across the state on I-90, you probably know what I'm talking about. They usually have the cheapest fuel. Unfortunately, I forgot to fill up oil here, so you'll see me do that later on the side of the road. Here you can see me topping off the oil in the Subaru like I said I was going to. After that, I just got to sit in traffic until I got to my friend's pretty much. The Subaru did pretty good getting across the state. It would maintain about 55 or so going up hills. Like when we came out of the gorge, it was going about 55 or so, not too bad. You really got to plan ahead so you can properly overtake people. Every overtake, even on a 4-lane highway, is exciting in the Subaru. But really, it did great. The only thing is I wish it had cruise control, but it did a really good job. So this auto show we went to, they let us drive quite a few almost exotic cars. We got to drive a Tesla Model S Plaid. That and the Hummer EV was the highlight. We also got to drive a BMW where the guy let us go on the freeway and get up to like 106 or maybe even 110, I think is what I got it up to. And man, it was smooth. You know, going 80 in the Loyale feels scarier than 110 in the BMW. There's a lot of cool cars there, but we didn't spend too much time on the floor. We spent most of the time waiting in line and driving cool cars. This is just a clip of me bragging about how good my away from home setup is with the Steam Deck. I got Among Us and Discord set up within about 15 minutes, and my friend's dog decided to hang out with me because she knew how good the setup was. She's a good girl. The next morning I was pretty hungry and a tad hungover, so I decided to stop by Mickey D's on my way out of town. Got a seat with a nice view of the Loyale. Then I stopped by Costco to top off on fuel and oil, as you see me doing here. After that, I stopped by my grandparents, where my dad and cousin kicked my butt at Pinochle, and I took my cousin and myself and the Loyale out to the cabin property. So the Subaru made it across the state. I kind of thought it would. It's been pretty reliable. It just eats a bunch of oil. I think it got about 24 miles to the gallon, which isn't too bad. It'd be a lot better if I didn't have to put, 3 or 4 quarts of oil in it, which is another, what, 15 bucks at least. I spent way too long on this simple edit of a little bit of rallying the Loyale. It isn't perfect, but I had fun making it. Hope you enjoyed it. Next up, I've got some clips of the Loyale off-roading. I do want to note that the tires were just all seasons, and they're pumped up to 40 PSI, baby. Though to be honest, it did pretty well considering that. Some of these clips were filmed by my cousin Gary, who was kind enough to take a photo of himself that I could use here. We'll start with a couple of obstacles that are a piece of cake for the quads, but see how the Loyale does with them.
That's pretty darn steep. There's no way I could get back up it with these tires.
I was surprised it made it up that second hill. Next, we're moving on to the field. I would like to say it was high-paced, but it really wasn't. It kind of just crawled through some of those mud pits. Four-wheel drive.
You did it, wow. Uh-oh.
Next up, we're moving a shed. So yeah, that's the shed moved. The actual purpose of this thing was to put the D4 Caterpillar and the tractor in it. We didn't do it while I was there, but my dad sent me this picture of them parked in there nicely after we were all done.
It's a frosty Sunday morning. I'm about to head back to Spokane. Gotta stop by the grandparents first, see how they're doing. It's not supposed to snow in the mountains today, so I could have brought the Goldwing, but this might be a little more comfortable. I'm gonna try to record the time lapse from a different angle this time. You should be able to see the road better, but less of the interior. We'll see how that goes.
Then I got on Highway 12 and booked it. Here you can see me stopping at the Packwoods store, and I headed for Yakima. I stopped in Yakima to get fuel at Fred Meyer's, and as you can see, I'm topping off my oil and back on the road for home. Well, I made it home. Time to unpack all the tools that I didn't need. I only didn't need them because I brought them though. That's what's important. Well, I'm getting ready to put up Christmas lights, but I have no idea where I put them for the summer. So I gotta find them.
I found them. They were in this box, which was up there, which probably should be labeled. Alright, well, that's that all done. The Christmas lights in all their glory. It's a frosty morning in Spokane Valley.
Alright, today is what, Tuesday? We're gonna get started on cleaning out the interior of the Volvo.
Trying to take off this interior panel because I thought I might be able to access the back side of this gas cap, this gas thing, because this thing at the moment, that aside, the cap doesn't close, so I guess I gotta undo these screws next. So it sounds like these hinge issues are a common problem on these Volvos, so I think I'm gonna have to build a hinge repair kit. I can hear this lock thing doing stuff in here. This isn't actually the latch, this is just the lock. I can hear it doing stuff when you press the lock button, but I'm not sure if it works. But mainly I just need to get the hinge repair kit, and then this whole piece should come off, and I should be able to have a working fuel door.
We didn't actually do much today, but we learned what needs to be done to the gas cap, and we're just gonna let it sit in here and air out for the next couple of days or so.
First snow. It's about to be drifting season.
So the Subaru's ready for inspection. I just had to get an appointment. They're really hard to get right now. I guess they were being scalped. That's what it says on the State Patrol's website. So I just have to check back every week and see if I can get in. But I did remember that there's one thing that I kind of forgot to do. I'm pretty sure some of the lights are out on it. So I'm gonna go out right now before it gets dark and check all of the light bulbs.
Let's get started here. The battery should be good.
This here is the taillight that's full of condensation. I would be pretty surprised if this one works, but we'll see. The security system, I swear. Finally. I think this remote is dead. Okay, so yeah, like I thought, this here taillight's out. I need to get that fixed. Let's check the headlights and turn signals and that sort of stuff. The snow's coming down. Turn signal's working. So we've got a headlight out up front on the left. Check the brights. The brights work, so it's just, I guess, the dim light. Oh, I haven't checked the reverse lights. Okay, reverse lights are working. But in summary, dim front left bulb, and this tail light bulb here. Yeah, I think everything else worked, so I gotta go order those.
It's just about stopped, but it's cold enough out that it did stick.
So this tire here in the back corner is a flat. I'm gonna pull it off and throw it in the Crown Vic. So I've got to take it to get its winter tires swapped over anyways. So I'll work on that.
Now let's see if the alarm goes off. Alright, I gotta get this thing thrown in here. I gotta move this thing over to the shop so I can roll the tires into it. Indeed, it is drift season. It's gotten a little snowier since I took this off yesterday. I'm gonna try and throw it on really quick just to get it out of the way. Let's see if I can open the car without setting off the alarm. I don't understand that alarm system still. Alright, well that's taken care of, and the Crown Vic's got its winter tires on, so it's all good. Later we're going to try and take the Loyale, which does not have winter tires, to get a desk. We'll see how that goes. Gotta play with the four-wheel drive. I'm gonna get inside, it's cold. We hauled a desk home in the Subaru today. The hatch wouldn't close, so we just drove home with it open, and the strap goes up to the front where Leo is holding on to it so the desk didn't fall out. We may or may not have done some desk drifts. This is what the desk was for the office. Alright, so it's after work, after dark. I managed to get an inspection scheduled for Wednesday. It is currently Monday, December 4th, so that's in 2 days. I need to get this rear taillight swapped, the headlight swapped, and the battery tie down put on. So I'm gonna try and do that really quick because it's stinking cold out here. First of all, I need to see if I can get the damn car unlocked without setting off the car alarm. This one I'm really gonna try. Oh, I think I just did it. All right, we are in. That was just finger tight. Someone's been in here. I would call that a success. Let's throw this thing back in here and actually use a wrench on it this time. Alright, it's this one right here, which is the easy one, so that's good. Got lucky there. There's only one more thing I need to do. I need to put up my temporary tag on the top of the driver's side rear window. Not bad. I'll let you know how it goes. I just took the Outback for a short little test drive on the freeway and it drove really well. All's looking good for Wednesday. I realized I probably ought to get rid of this ACAB sticker before I go have it inspected by the police tomorrow. Made it to the place of inspection. So yeah, this place is about a 20-minute drive from my home. I'm not gonna record the actual inspection, but I'll let you know how it goes after I pass. Well, passed no problem. Didn't even mention the bent hood, so good to go. So I just got back from the DOL, and the Subaru Outback is now street legal. If I put it on my insurance, I could go out and drive it today. I was going to do a cost breakdown here before I find some bolts for the plates. I'm going to head over and try to throw the plates on this thing. Your ears will be very happy to know, and my neighbors will be very happy to know, that I figured out the alarm system. It was simply a dead battery. Hey, I need to go find some bolts. Welcome to the bolt zone. So I think I've got my nuts and bolts. Let's head back out to the scene of the crime. First things first, let's get these tabs on. Alright, well, this thing is officially ready to go back out on the road. The most important part of this, though, for me, was the learning, though. So I wanted to start with a cheap car, or as it ended up to, and just kind of figure out how the process went. And so I've done that, and this was a pretty easy car to repair. Obviously I have footage from replacing the first fender, because that was before I started doing this, but it was a really good experience generally. It's always a gamble, and that's kind of fun, I guess, but this one's alright. Anyways, it's time to get inside and relax for the night. Oh, and just one more reminder, it works! Another frosty morning in Spokane Valley. I've got a new cabin air filter for the Volvo because it sure as heck needs it. It was a smoker's car, which is honestly the worst part about this car.
And then within this box, there is the replacement gas flap door hinge. We're gonna get started on that. And it works. And you can really see here, I don't know if you can, but I can. You can see where the body is damaged and pushed in. There's quite a lip here. So I think I'm just gonna try and leave this and hope that the inspector doesn't really care. Look at how disgusting this floor is. I don't even wanna touch this. Oh, that flashing red light, that's because I just triggered the alarm. I'm not used to these new vehicles with alarm systems. Well, I'm gonna spend a few minutes seeing if I can get this bumper to go haphazardly on. So in conclusion, I obviously didn't get it on, but I think I'm just gonna be able to cram this bumper back on. And it looks like I actually have all of the parking sensors. Here's the fourth one right here. I don't know if they work, obviously. So all I really need is some wiring so I can solder them back up and actually connect them. After a not insignificant amount of searching, I found the exact pigtail for the parking sensors. All right, so I didn't actually get too much done today, but I did learn quite a bit. I did get the gas flap fixed, which is really nice to know. I still don't know if the lock works. That's just going to have to be something that I learn over time, but that also doesn't really matter. In conclusion, I need to get the correct cabin air filter. It needs to be cleaned, and I need to get the connectors for the parking sensors, and then I need to fiddle with the rear bumper. Mirrors, you can't see because I'm not showing you, but this one, they just stuck glass from a completely different car on this mirror. I don't know what they were thinking. And then the other mirror, I think, is missing its glass completely. So, a couple of minor things, but overall, not a lot of work to save quite a few dollars on what's a decent car. Oh, I feel pretty good. I'm gonna call it quits for the day. So we are in Liberty Lake, and this is a thing they do every year. They put up a bunch of lights in one of the local parks. And we always try and come down here when it's snowy out, which it is tonight. Unfortunately, it's all gonna melt tomorrow, so. It's actually quite a big area that they do. It's really fun to walk around at night when it's snowy like this. So what I've got going on here is that some moron decided to put the wrong glass on here. It doesn't line up in the slightest. It looks awful, and it's just, I mean, I prefer they just did with what they did with the other side, which is not replace the glass at all. Today I just have the spray adhesive. I haven't mentioned this yet. I just noticed it while cleaning the car the other day. The A-pillar liner, I'll show it to you in a minute, is coming off. So that just needs to be spray adhesive for back on. And then I've got what I hope is the correct air filter. Oh, hey, there's the car alarm. Is that going to become a staple of this channel? I feel like it is. Peel this back like that. And I get some spray adhesive on there. That's a job done. I was going to say well done, but I don't know about that. Now I get to do the fun task of cleaning the floor mats. Welcome to my kitchen, where I'm going to be cleaning the 2 trunk mats. I wanted to put a whiteboard here, so I ordered one, and then I realized that I really didn't want to put massive holes in the wall of a rental, and so instead, I spent about twice as much to mount it here on sliders, so you can still access the stuff behind it. Then it closes like that. Mirrors came in for the Volvo, so I thought I might throw those on. But, you know, that was really difficult to just order the correct mirror. I can understand why the previous owner would have just slapped that other one on there. I
think that'll work just fine. I think these are the correct pigtails. I don't know if I mentioned, but I ordered the wrong ones. They only had 2 wires coming out of them, so these should have 3 wires coming out of them. And in this big box should be a tail light. So I'm just gonna get right into it and see if I can get this thing wrapped up today. Still gotta wrap them in electrical tape and then I'll plug them in. And then before I put the bumper on, I'll go see if the error message is gone on the dash. Well, that's done. Yeah, I think I'll just try and put this bumper on now.
Let's see, there's our error codes right there. Right rear door open. Driver door open, tailgate open. Low beam failure. I don't see anything about parking sensors. I'm gonna call it good and throw the bumper on there though.
The parking is working, the parking assist. I bet you if I walk back there, you hear it beeping? Oh, it's working. That's sick. I mean, it's a basic feature, but it's cool that it's working. Looks like all the lights are working. I am really happy with that. Cool. All right, let's get this stupid trim back on. And with that, the Volvo is officially almost done. You know how I was so proud that I fixed Leah, the parking sensors? Well, they were beeping at me, and I ignored them because I thought they were beeping for some other reason, forgetting that Leah parks her car back there. She watches these videos, and that's when she's going to find out. Nothing's damaged, by the way. It's just, it did happen.
Noticed an issue with the tail light that I got today from eBay. See how this one has this little marker here? Those are 4 red lights behind a clear housing. And on this side, none of them are working. So I'm gonna have to look into if I can fix that or if I need to get a refund from this eBay seller.
Friday morning, just got done having our little mini Spokane Christmas. Leah got me a new GoPro, so there should be a little bit of quality improvement there. But we're just gonna take her car. I couldn't get an appointment for the Volvo to be inspected, so we can't take it. So time to start loading. It should be an uneventful trip. Imagine that, a reliable automobile. Well, I think we're all packed and ready to go.
There's no way to explain all the things I feel. I feel weak, I feel weird, just like I'm not even real. A deep blue sky was on me, a gray old house on the
That one was easy. Crunchy.
Morning, dear.
In this series of time lapses, you're going to see us salvage some metal from the roof. You're looking at us unscrewing all of the sheets here, and then in a bit, you're going to see us dragging them off the roof. Then we drag them out to our property and unload them all for use in a future shed. The next day, I just decided I wanted to hang out on the property, clear some trails, haul some firewood. However, my mom and dad went back to the other place and tore over the shed, salvaged some lumber, and my mom recorded this video of them pulling it over. Turned out that none of the 2x6s broke, so I guess they spent quite a bit of the rest of the day pulling nails out of them so we can use them in a future project. Anyways, back to tooling around on the property.
Today the goal is just to haul some of the wood from various fallen trees back to the cabin. First we gotta go down to the shop to grab some gloves, and then I think we can get on the way. It's starting to rain now. We're just gonna do one load of this and then get back in the cabin. Packed and ready to go. Joanna's crammed in there. I can't see out the back because we had to take these 2 plants home. Alright, we made it home. No big deal. I want to enjoy this time lapse of us unloading all our crap. We get to see just how much stuff we fit in here, minus a human and her 2 bags.
Here I am toggling between the before and after of when Leah's car was loaded versus unloaded. It isn't like it has crazy stiff suspension, but it's still pretty wild how much it was squatting.
Alright, all unloaded. We're going to relax.
Well, that was a lot of work to edit. I hope you enjoyed watching what I was up to in 2023. I was able to keep this one under an hour, but I imagine the 2024 recap's gonna be quite a bit longer. The reason this is a different style of video is because I'm camping at the moment, doing an extended camp, and so I didn't want to have to edit a video while I was on the road again. That's pretty annoying if you don't have a good setup, which I don't really. Next week's video or the following video should be about this camping trip that I'm on, so hopefully that's a good one. But like I said, thanks for watching either way. If you enjoyed this recap, then hit the like button. If you want to see what I'm up to in the future, hit the subscribe button. And if you think there's something I could do better, leave a comment down below. See you next week.